enter the room afterwards, which is fine. So welcome all of you online for this short presentation and Q&A about the Master of Communication Sciences, Digital Media and Society, which is our international master. First, a very short introduction. My name is Stef Aupers, and I'm the program director of the Department of Communication Sciences. So I'm responsible for the bachelor's and master's, including the International Master Digital Media and Society. And Elisabeth, perhaps you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name is Elisabeth. I'm the program coordinator of this international master's program. So once you file your application, that is something that I will check and review together with my colleagues, of course, of the admissions office. I'm also responsible for the internship and for a course in the first semester, and that is Introduction to Digitalization, where we have all kinds of things like a company visit and some guest lectures. But I'm also here to answer all of your questions. And also while you are starting the program, I'm a little bit your spokesperson and the person you can come to. If you don't know who to turn to, I'm able to help you. That's a little bit my role.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so a little bit about what we are going to do. I will give a short introduction. I'll really try to keep it short because I think it's also important to have enough space for questions. So we'll try not to make it longer than 10 minutes or so, perhaps a little bit more. So to give you an idea of what our master is actually about in terms of the courses, in terms of its goals, and in terms of the possibilities that we provide also for your future careers. And then you can, if you want to, already ask some questions in the chat, but we will definitely also have a time afterwards to respond to your questions. And I would also suggest that if you ask questions, obviously it's not mandatory, but you can also show yourself by putting on the camera. It's not mandatory again, but you know, it's also nice to have that kind of talk. Okay, without further ado, let me say something about the master. The Master of Communication Sciences. This is indeed our master. It's a research-based program, which means that obviously the teachers and the professors that are giving the courses are at the same time researchers in the field of digital media and society. So they are responsible for teaching, of course, but also for the research. They are experts in the field of digitalization, digital media, etc., etc. And what we do very shortly is in this master, the focus is studying the nature, the effects, and the meanings of digital media. So the basic idea, of course, underlying this is that digital media reshapes society in various domains, and it shapes basically the way individual people live, think, and act. And if we look at our program, and this is also the type of research that we do, there are different underlying assumptions. Obviously, the general assumption is that digitalization is a very important process and has quite an important impact on our lives and society. I mean, if you look at contemporary society, and if you look at social media, if you look at AI, ChatGPT, virtual reality, and all these kind of technological developments, we can do nothing else than conclude that it has quite an important effect on our individual lives. So this is one stream of thought in our master, which is more media psychology, where we focus very much on what are the effects of digital media use. If people are all day using social media, using TikTok, playing video games, and all this kind of stuff, what effect does it have on their attitudes and their perceptions and behaviors? But secondly, we also focus on its impact, not only on the individual, but also on society. So this is, you could say, more media sociology. We're interested in how digitalization transforms domains like the economy, like education, like politics, like journalism. Just to give an example of the latter, um, I mean, journalism is totally transformed as a field since professional trained journalists nowadays really have to compete with citizen journalists online. Every citizen basically that is able to provide all kinds of information on social media platforms and disseminate that to a large audience. So it's media psychology, it's media sociology, and we're also very much focusing, thirdly, in our master on what you could call digital marketing or digital advertising and everything that's related to that. Or better phrased, perhaps, strategic communication. I mean, nowadays, every company or every organization needs somebody to deal with digital media, with social media, to think about what the message is that will be communicated, what the tools are that we need to do so, and the audiences that we can communicate to, right? So these are just some of the domains. Again, media psychology, media sociology, and strategic communication in the digital sphere. So that is some of the sort of underlying disciplines that are guiding our master. Looking a little bit more, doing a little bit more a close reading of the program, we have, I'm going through the courses now. There are first of all, there are various courses, first of all, theoretical courses that are generally about topics of digitalization. There are four major courses, or five major courses in this respect. First of all, Introduction to Digitalization, which you will follow basically in the first part of the first semester, where you will be introduced in this process of digitalization. It is an important course for us because it's not only that we teach what digitalization is and what implications it has on individuals and society, but it's also a course where there are guest lectures given by people from the, academia, but also people from working in the field of digitalization. There are company visits, so you visit companies in and around Leuven, also to get familiar with how digitalization works out in a professional context. And finally, it's also the intention that together with your co-students, you will organize a seminar or a symposium, which is also altogether very important because community building in the first part, in the first semester, is important. I mean, we all know that most of you will come from, all kinds of places in Europe and outside of Europe. So it's important that you get to know one another a little bit and feel at home, obviously, in our master and also in Leuven and in Flanders, basically. So that's why I take a little bit more time to refer to Introduction to Digitalization. I will not go as long with all the other courses here. But we have, of course, psychology of social media, which is on media psychology and what social media does to our psyches, to our minds, to our experiences, to our well-being, basically. We have production and consumption of digital media, which is more the production and the consumption side of things. In the second semester, we have two other courses that we think are pivotal to have, which is digital marketing. And I talked a little bit about that already, and the course human-computer interaction. So what we do with our courses, we try to provide you with the innovative research, with the state of the art in theory formation in the field, etc., which is important, obviously, to increase your knowledge on the topic, but also to provide you with theories for research, etc. All right, so this is about the theoretical courses. It's important to note that and that's in most of the courses, even the theoretical courses, that the classes are generally very interactive. So we try to, obviously, we do lecturing, but we also have a lot of interaction with our students. And you could say the prime example of that is the interactive master classes. In the academic year 24-25, our students have to choose between either media and crisis or media and design. And media and crisis is very much um, different lecturers lecturing on how media causes particular crises. It's not only helpful in our communication, but increasingly media is also surrounded by, all kinds of social problems, varying from privacy issues, fake news, fear of AI, all these kind of things will be discussed. And media and design is another course which is more on media how media can be designed, but also how design is basically a methodology to study how media works, essentially. So these are the courses that you have to make choices. And this is, again, another aspect of our master, that we try to provide the students with ample choices, because obviously we don't want just to top down load all kinds of information on you. We want to provide all kinds of possibilities and opportunities for you to make choices so it fits your personal interests and ambitions. All right, so that's the interactive classes. Um, okay, so an important, of course, a very important element of our master is also the internship. Well, basically, it's an issue of choice. You can choose either for an internship, which I will talk about a little bit more about after this, which most students do, which is basically 6 weeks where you are able to put your theory in practice and work in an organization. Or you choose elective courses if you don't want to do an internship, which is a course on digital competences, courses on marketing strategy, or courses on international competences. So again, we have some choices here for you to reflect upon and think about and actually make while you're doing this study. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the internship. Again, we think and most of our students also obviously think that it's important, because in addition to the theoretical knowledge and learning how to do research and attaining all kinds of knowledge in the field, we do want to sort of form a bridge between, academia and professional life. And internships are, an excellent opportunity to do that. Uh, there are 30 work days for the internship. Um, there is obviously, it's the basic thing is that you put your skills into practice. You just, try out how it is in a particular context. You can do that in different sectors, like we have public relation, media production, non-profit organizations, journalism, the cultural sector, market research, advertising, marketing, or internal and external communication. And these are all kinds of, advertising and branding and all these kind of things. So we have ample opportunities. We have we have a wide network at KU Leuven, and we try to, as good as we can, try to connect the wishes of our students, or what they want, with what we have to offer, and connect basically our students with organizations that they are interested in and around Leuven, which is the most practical thing to do, of course. And again, we have an extensive database available, so this can work out pretty well. All right. So these are some of the examples. Obviously, we don't have space nor time to discuss all these companies and what they have to offer in terms of job, but hopefully you have an idea. These are some of the companies that you might want to work for a while in your internship. All right, so we're going through all of the the segments or all of the aspects and the courses of our 1 year master. And another one which is important, of course, is the master thesis. And the master thesis obviously is the second semester of the year, where you bring together your theoretical knowledge, your methodological knowledge, and tie it in with a research question in doing a research on a particular topic. The topics, and this is of course the master thesis is the sort of final work that you do as a student. It's an important aspect as well. Uh, Again, there are choices to make here. You can choose a topic. We have a wide range of possible master thesis topics. All our professors, as said already, are doing research on all kinds of topics, working from media psychology, media sociology, journalism, strategic communication, and having doing research on all kinds of topics. So in the end, you'll have to choose a particular topics and particular professors that will supervise you. And there will also, again, like in the internship, we try to make a connection there to see that you get what you want in this sense. I mean, you're allowed to say basically, I want to do possibly these 3 topics, and in the end, you'll get 1 out of 3 generally. Okay, so that's the procedure then, and that works fine and efficient generally. This gives you an idea, this schedule, on how does your week, what does your week look like? This is a first week on campus where you see indeed what moments you have where you have lectures on campus. um, for instance, introduction to digitalization, psychology of social media, production and consumption of digital media, and one of the master classes. This gives you an idea of how many time you need to actually be in lecture halls, etc., etc. But obviously there is ample time, secondly, to study the material that we prescribe, to work on your assignments or your papers, if that is part of the course. But also, we hope and think there's ample time still to enjoy, the life in Leuven or in Brussels, whatever your preferences are. So this gives you hopefully a little bit of a concrete idea. All right, so why the Faculty of Social Sciences? The Department of Communication Sciences is ranked among one of the best in Europe. We, again, like I said, we at the department as researchers, we have quite an international status. We publish a lot of work internationally, and and also our bachelors and masters are widely positively valued. We're all internationally engaged experts in the field of digital media. KU Leuven alumni, so that means if you finish, if you graduate, if you finish your master, you are in the end part of a vast and stable global network of alumni, which is we were taking care of making these contacts with our former students strong and stable. There's a lot of variation in topics and teaching methods that we use. Like in terms of topics, and we talked a little bit about that. In terms of teaching methods, we really use a lot of teaching methods like interactive classes, lecturing, but also assignments, group assignments, individual assignments. There are all kinds of things that we work on. There is the possibility to do an additional master abroad, which is essentially an Erasmus program where you in the third master after the master the year you are able to make an exchange to another university. So there is a possibility to do that. We have a very strong study lab, which basically means that if there are any problems in terms of studying, if you have difficulties, for instance, in working on research design or methods or theoretical classes, there is the study lab where you can, there are people that will help you out on this. So we do think there's a lot of support for you, not only in a technical sense in terms of the education, but also very much in terms of well-being. We know sometimes that students think it's difficult. I mean, we know you come from afar sometimes, and sometimes it might be difficult. So there's always somebody to talk to, somebody who will listen to you and help you out. And we think there are, or we do not only think, but we know there are quite some career perspectives that we have. When you are an alumni, it's quite easy to start a job somewhere. Can I have the next slide, please? So we make a distinction generally between three main domains where our former students get a job. So it might be sometimes people come to work in the creative industry. So it might be the production of television shows or series, or it might be writing scripts, or it might be journalism. There are many aspects in that field, and many jobs in that field where our alumni are nowadays working. There's the field of research and innovation. Obviously, you learn to become a very solid and good researcher in this field. So some will work for governmental organizations, for instance, the European Union or other organizations, where research is needed, where campaigns should be grounded in solid research, but also commercial marketing agencies or companies are on the list. And that is the third point, is that a lot of our students will work in, bureaus or companies specialized in advertising, in public relations, in marketing, in branding, and particularly related to social media, digital branding, etc., etc. So these are some. Just obviously, again, it's impossible to be complete in terms of what you can become with our education. We know it's not the type of education where it's very concrete where you can become, but at the same time, we see that in our masters, our alumni, well, like I said, digitalization is everywhere. Every company, every organization needs somebody to think on the message, the tools, and the audiences to communicate, the message to. And that is so important. So there's always demand for people working in communication sciences or having studied communication sciences, and particularly in the field of digital media. So that is our main asset, we think. All right, so this is a very, very short overview. Obviously, one of the reasons why it's short is that you can in more detail find it in the program guide online, and I would definitely advise you just to look at the information there and see if you think it's, if you like it, if you think it's interesting, but also, of course, if you think the university and Leuven and Brussels and everything that's happening in and around this area, if you think that's exciting and if you think that's appealing. So just, check out the program guide and check out KU Leuven and what is happening there. And I think that's important to do in addition to what we're talking about. All right, finally, it's easy to apply, right? I mean, you can easily do that online, and you can watch the clip to see how to do it. And if you have any questions, well, obviously, the next step phase now is that we're going to address your question if you have any. But you don't hesitate to contact us. You can send an email or communicate to Elisabeth, or you can communicate to me or put me in CC if you will. There is Sylvia Tutanel, who's responsible for the study program or different study programs at the department. And if you have questions about ombuds or well-being, etc., you can send an email to Yasmin. So this is very generally, I think, the most important things. Finally, we have Study Lab, of course, which is, again, like I said very shortly before, very much focused on tutoring. If you have questions about study method and schedule structure, you can always contact Study Lab. If you have questions about the composition of your study pathway or want information about special statutes, for instance, if you're a working student, you can also ask these questions. Or if you have any questions, if you want to talk about this stuff, the Study Lab is also the place to be in this respect. All right. Okay, I think this is, well, perhaps still quite some information. But again, visit our website and let's go now for the second part. If there are any questions, I saw already some questions in the chat.
Yeah,
No?
yeah, I've seen them as well. I will read them maybe. So I see a question from Amin. I was told by the admissions office that it might be needed to take up a preparatory program to be able to enroll for this master's program. How can I know if this applies to my case or not? Well, we have a lot of information on the website of the program where you can see what exactly we expect from students, what they followed in their previous education. And then I mainly think, of course, about programs, diplomas, and so on within the social sciences, of course. And especially what is very important and that we really need to stress out is the importance of knowledge of research methods, like, for instance, qualitative but also quantitative research design. So, for instance, knowledge of SPSS or the program R, where you are able to conduct a survey and then analyze those results, since that is something that you will probably need during your master's thesis. So that's an important one in order to know if you need to take up a preparatory program or not. If your program is not among the list on the website, you can always email me, and then I can check really fast if you just tell me what your previous education was. But I cannot give a conclusive answer, because if you really file an admission file, then we really have an entire process and colleagues of mine who are also going to evaluate your university and so on. So it's impossible to give a conclusive answer via email, but I can give you a guideline if you will be requested probably to follow a preparatory program or not.
Yeah.
I hope that answered the questions a little bit. Yes, Professor.
Yeah. No, I just in addition, it's indeed particularly important that you did a bachelor program where there is some social scientific knowledge or theory or information that you have learned in the courses, and indeed a methodological basis, because ultimately we will pick up, for instance, methodologically speaking, with quantitative methods and design and qualitative methods and design, or digital methods and design. And so we assume that there is some knowledge about this methods. That is important, basically.
Yeah. A next question is from Logan Cassia. I hope I pronounced it right. Hello, thank you for the presentation. I was wondering if students can take up extracurricular classes outside of their chosen master, either as a free student or in a credit contract. Yes, you can. I think you can extend a normal study program is 60 credits in total for 1 year, and I think you can extend until 67. credits. So that's like 2 or 1 major extra class. I think if you want to go even above that, I'm not sure if it's possible if you haven't yet obtained your master's degree yet. But if you have more in detail questions about that, I would recommend to contact Sylvia Tutenel. She will be able to really in detail give you a conclusive answer to that question. But yes, I think it is possible. Do you make a difference in the admission process if someone is from a University of Applied Sciences? Um, I think everything, all the admissions that we get are from applied sciences. But like I said, especially if you followed some research methods and have some additional knowledge in that area, you are definitely more likely to get admitted into the program. I don't know if you want to add something to that, Professor.
Well, that's een hogeschool, no?
University of Applied
Sciences.
Sciences, really? Yes.
Yeah, I think so actually.
Yeah, it is important, however, that you had a previous education at a university, since that will give you direct access into the master's program.
So officially a bachelor or an equivalent of a bachelor program. It can also
Yes.
be a preparatory program or something
Yeah.
like that. But you need that to enter the master. So it's
Yeah.
really very important.
Yeah, some previous academic education, of course. I see someone with 3 questions. What is the mode of examination for the courses? Will there be exams, mainly essays, group work, and so on? I think that is something that Professor Alpers has already answered a little bit. It's really a variety of methods. So we have indeed examinations where you have multiple choice questions, for instance. You will have to write essays as well. You have a group work, you have master classes. Yeah, it's a variety of modes of examination. You can always check those by checking out the program that we mentioned also in the slides and on the website of the program. And there you can really see per course what the mode of examination is.
Yeah, and some courses have the exam at the end, and some courses have permanent evaluation, which implies, like the master class, for instance, that implies that in part you have to do assignments in class. For instance, working 1 or 2 hours together on a particular assignment or presentation or on an argumentation, and then at the end of the class you have to present that together and ask critical questions about the presentations of others. I mean, this is an example of a permanent evaluation where throughout class you do some assignments, and at the end of the class or at the end of the course, you also have to write a paper. So sometimes, it's indeed a sort of combination of all kinds of assignments.
Yeah. I see a second question. For how long are the students usually required to live in Leuven, especially when they're doing an internship in the second semester? Well, normally most students are here for about a year, because sometimes you fail a course and then you get a second chance during the summer. The same thing for your master's thesis. That's really a big effort, especially since you combine it with your internship in the second semester. So that really entails that you probably might consider handing it in during the second examination period, which is also during the summer. But I can say that there are periods in time where you can, for instance, go back home for a couple of weeks. I think, for instance, on the second part of the first semester, we have some course-free weeks because you are required to look for your internship, but also to start working a little bit on your master's thesis. And also during the second semester, you have the 6 weeks of the internship. And if you get a really good opportunity abroad, or for instance, in your home country, that is a possibility that you do those 6 weeks and that internship in your home country as well. Regarding the application, if I do not have a IELTS TOEFL certificate but have studied abroad in English language for the past 2 years, that is not enough proof. No,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately not. We can only accept you after you have submitted those IELTS certificates, and in the past you were allowed to enter the program once you did a 3-year previous education in English, but that was that is cancelled for the next academic year, because we really expect you to
Mm-hmm.
have a certain level of English, which is very important for you in order to be able to complete the program. And that's why we request that you have those certificates. We are working on a certificate, or at least one option that would be a little bit less expensive, but still overall these are internationally approved tests that are also used by other international universities. So if you have these certificates and you want to apply to other universities as well, for instance, those are certificates that you can use again. So I think it's worth the money to then have a very valuable certificate of your English language. I would like to know if quality for the course, despite not holding, if you qualify for the course despite not holding a bachelor's in communication sciences, social science, or behavioral sciences. I possess over 4 years of relevant experience in the same field as the course content, mostly for marketing agencies, but qualified with finance as a major for my bachelor's. Would this experience be taken into consideration while applying for this program? I will provide my email again at the end of our questions, of course. But yes, we do take in consideration relevant working experience. However, we do value the importance, like we already said, of a academic previous education within the field of social sciences, especially for those research methods. That's something that we really cannot go around. If you have a finance background, I'm a little bit afraid that the previous education might not be enough, but it's difficult to be so general in my answer. Again, I think it's better if you email me perhaps with your transcript of records and your previous education, and then I can take a real fast look without giving you a conclusive answer, of course, because there are so much elements taken into consideration while evaluating your admission files. But it will give a little bit of an idea if you would be able, because we really need that previous academic
Mm-hmm.
education.
Yeah. And not only because we want it, but also because in the end,
Yeah,
if you don't have the knowledge, you will really get in trouble
yeah, yeah,
because
absolutely.
you're not able to sort of start the course and understand some of the basic concepts and practices.
Yeah, same with the next question from someone who completed a bachelor's in statistics from India. I would definitely recommend that you can apply, of course, into the program. I hope you have some social scientific background
Mm-hmm.
also, but it's difficult to give a conclusive answer because
Yeah.
we also evaluate your
Mm-hmm.
university and so on.
Yeah.
It's an entire process in the admissions office. When is the deadline of this program? Well, you can check it out on the website as well. I think for non-EEA, that is the 1st of June. And for EEA students, it is the 1st of August. And why is that deadline? Because we really need the time, but also you need the time if you get admitted to find housing, to arrange your travel here, to arrange your visa, for instance, and so on. And that's the reason a little bit that non-EEA students are requested, especially to already apply and subscribe before the 1st of August, because otherwise the timing is way too short. Those are a little bit the questions that I see right now. I don't know if anyone wishes to add some more questions, or perhaps put on your sound, put on your video. Yeah, I see someone.
Hi.
Please take the
Hi.
words.
Hi, and thank you for your presentation. My name is and I have a several questions, but very quick one. Firstly, as I can see in the faculty website that the location of this master is in Leuven, but in the presentation of Professor Albert, in the slide where we can see study schedule, he did mention that we may have some class in Leuven or in Brussels. So it's a little bit confusing for me.
Yeah. No. That's perhaps. I mean, I should have been more careful in pointing out these things. The courses are generally on campus in Leuven.
Yeah.
So Leuven is a relatively small medieval city in Flanders, in Belgium. And Brussels is nearby, so it's 15 or 20 kilometers from Leuven, but we are not lecturing there. The only moment we perhaps might go to Brussels or in that environment is if there is an internship or if there is a company visit. So there is structurally no course given in Brussels. It's all on and around the campus in Leuven.
Okay, I see. Thank you. And my second question is that I understand that it's really depend on each cases, but I have a bachelor in business administrator, and as long as I understand if correctly, that is can consider a sociology segment, right? Is it?
Is what? Sorry, I misunderstood the last part.
Uh, Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I have a BBI, which is a Bachelor in Business Administrator.
Uh-huh.
And if I'm not wrong, it can be considered as a sociology background. Is
Uh-huh.
is it right? Just
Yeah.
to make sure.
Yeah. Again, that's so administration is it might be helpful to be sure. I mean, in many ways, but since we need the continuity between the bachelor and the masters, right? I mean, there has to be some kind of a connection
Yeah.
in terms of the field of study, the discipline, and in terms of the methods. And that's the reason why we really think it's important that at least you got to have some knowledge on social sciences. It can be anthropology, it can be political sciences, it can be sociology, it can be communication sciences, it can even be social psychology, perhaps. But there needs to be a sort of continuation of that. That's first, and the second one is the methods. So again, I think, like Elizabeth is saying, it is, we need to determine that person per person, but these are indeed sort of the substantial criteria.
Yeah.
I see. In case if I need to have some kind of bridging program, I can see that in KU Leuven there's only a bridging program, but in Dutch for
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
study degree.
Yeah. That's that we realize that's it, because we also have Dutch masters in Leuven, and we see that it might be convenient to have an international English bridge program, but the bare fact is that we don't have one.
Okay.
So it is of course possible to find another bridging program somewhere, but it's not, this bridge program is not related to our master yet.
Okay, I see. It's pretty clear for me for now. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
I see one last question. Is there any mandatory percentage of score in our bachelor's to be eligible in the admission procedure? Yeah, we do value, together with the admissions office, what your previous education was, what kind of university, what your GPA was. but it's not that we only accept students with a GPA of 4 or higher. It's definitely possible for you to get admitted with average grades and scores as well. So there is no mandatory percentage of a certain score, but we do keep in mind that you have to have, depending on your previous education and your university, that you have to have a certain amount of knowledge and a level of education, of course, in order to be able to complete the program. We want to make sure that you get the best chance you can on getting admitted and also succeed in the program once you get here. So that's important for us, but also for you, of course. I see a question: how long is the duration for the bridging program and the fees? I think you can look up all the fees in detail. They are mentioned on the website of the program itself, but also from KU Leuven, depending on the bridging program or the master's program you wish to follow. The duration of a bridging program a little bit depends, but it's normally about 1 year of study. And the fees, that really depends. I cannot give a conclusive answer on it because it depends if you are EEA, non-EEA, what kind of bridging program you're going to do, how many credits you're going to take. I would simply recommend to go to the admissions website or follow the link on the master's program, and then you will find a website where you can calculate it more into detail. So that was the last question. I don't know if
anybody else?
Yes. Feel free to speak out. I'm also going to write down my personal email address. So people who are interested, have some more questions into detail. If I don't know the answer, I will try to refer you to people who do. And of course, help you to the best of my abilities to give you an idea. Like I said, I cannot in detail evaluate your whole admission file because that is something, there is a reason we have an entire process that the admissions office is involved in the decision and so on. But I can perhaps give you an idea in which direction, if you have a chance to continue. And yeah, feel free to text me or send me an email with your question. You can find a lot of information on the website as well, on the website of KU Leuven. So yeah, I think that's it.
I think so too. If there are no other questions, I think we have to thank you for being here and asking questions. And obviously, well, hopefully you'll apply, and perhaps we will see one another next year. You never know. So
Yeah.
thanks a lot for the interest.
Thank you very much. I see that one person is still typing. I don't know if it's a thank you or still a question. We'll see. But thank you all for joining us this Friday afternoon. Yes, it was a thank you. Okay, thank you everyone
All right.
for joining us. Hopefully see you next year. Oh, I see one last question. What's the capacity for this program, I suppose? There is no, so far we have managed each year to have the amount of students that were accepted. So I don't think this will necessarily be a problem for next year. Normally we are able to adjust our capacity a little bit in order to to allow everyone who got allowed to do the program. So that's not really an issue. Good luck, everyone, and perhaps see you next year.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.